Hey everybody, welcome back. I am bored. COVID made me bored, and today at the table, I am taking a look at Trash Pandas, the Raucous Raccoon card game. This is a card game by Game Right Games. It is for 2 to 4 players, and it is a victory point slash push your luck card game where you are a cute little panda whose mission is to try and stash some harvest goods out of trash cans in preparation for the cold, harsh winter that's ahead of you. And you'll be playing with 2 or more people, up to 4, and each of you will be attempting to push your luck by rolling a dice, uh, obtaining potential actions based on those rolls, and with those actions, collect trash items and hopefully stash them away to earn your victory points at the end of the round or at the end of the game. The game is this is a filler game basically. For me, it's low rule set, very portable, cards, a couple tokens, and a dice. And I came across this game because I was sort of on the hunt for some lightweight games. I love my dungeon crawlers. I love my other games, my adventure games, Marvel United, all those ones. Those are all great, but sometimes doing all the setup takes a little bit of time. Sometimes I want to, something a little easier to take on the go and something to fill that maybe 20, 30-minute lull at work where I just need a mental break. And I consider these filler games for mental break, mental wellness. And so I came across Trash Pandas. That I know there's a whole bunch out there. I mean, there's Uno, there's Monopoly, Deal, there's Sleeping Queens, there's a whole bunch. There's a whole bunch. So there was no particular reason why I got this one, other than the fact that it was on half price, 50% off on Amazon, and I said yes, I'll do it. And it's something that I could easily say that I could probably play with my kids. It was very straightforward. You're going to have 54 cards that you have in a deck. You'll have a deck of cards. And of the 54 cards, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 different types of cards in that out of that 54. And each one has text. It has possible abilities, I guess, or certain things that almost like take that type of text. And there's also some cards in which you would be stashing to earn points. Now, for example, we've got this card named Blammo. I'm just going to quickly go over some of the text. Now, this is a card that, gives you sort of an indication of what it is that you're getting, and there's some leftover yummy juice inside an old pop can that you want to store away for the winter. And the little number down here indicates the number of cards out of the 54 represented in the deck. So there are 13 Blammo cards in the deck of 54. And there'll be some text ability which you can play during your turn or possibly during an off turn on an opponent's turn during the game round. And it says here, re-roll your last die, 1 point per Blammo stash. Now, stashing is a action that you can take on your turn, in which case you would take the card in your hand, and if it so happens to be a Blammo, you would stash away on a separate pile, and it's worth 1 point. You'll see, here's another example. It's the shiny card, and you'll see again, there's 3 of these cards in the deck of 54. And then this is an action that you can do during your turn, which is steal a stash card from a player. Then you'll notice there's a sort of a victory point award system up here, and it's a little different. What you're doing is you're kind of stashing and doing a set collection. So if I were to stash multiple shiny cards in my little stash pile, at the end of the game, when the round is over, everyone would go through their stash and they would basically count up the number of collection of cards that they have. So how many shiny cards do you have? If you have the most in your stash, you would earn 3, in this case, 3 points, so the gold, whatever value is there. The second person to have the second most number of shiny cards in their stash pile would earn the silver, Third place would be bronze, and if you had a fourth player, they would get nothing. And in this situation here, you'll see that there's no points for second and third, only points for first. So you've got this card called the Yum Yum. Again, there's the point distribution for first, second, and third in terms of the number of highest number of cards collected in your stash. The name of the card, the distribution within the deck set, and as well as a potential option to use the card for some kind of effect during the game. You've got Fish. Take a card from the discard pile. There's 7 of them. You got Pie, which is 9 in the set, and you can resolve a token twice, and I'll talk about that in a minute. You've got the Doggo. You've got the Kidde. And I believe the Doggo and the Kidde you cannot stash. These are not stashable. Only the ones with points and Blammo cards can be stashed. And you got the Nanners. Okay, so those are the types of cards that you have in this deck. Aside from the cards, you have a dice, which has various symbols. And those symbols correspond to the 7 tokens that you have in the game. Sorry, the 6 tokens that you have in the game. All represented here. So you will have 2 trash cans, a trash can and a tree, the recycle symbol, 2 trees, a raccoon hand stealing a bag, and the raccoon eyes. Okay? So those are the components that come with the game. You have a quick reference card that tells you exactly what they do. So token actions basically is what it represents. So I'll leave this off to the side. And you have a very simple sort of pamphlet rule sheet in terms of how to play, what the symbols represent, and win-loss conditions. In this situation, it's point gathering, so that's really, the highest point person, the person with the highest points, basically wins the game, while the others are very, very sad trash pandas or raccoons. So in terms of setup, I'll just move this off to the side. You'll be shuffling the cards up, and depending on your player count, your players will be distributed a certain number of cards. So if you have, actually no, it's not depending on the number. It's player 1, player 2, player 3, player 4 will each get a certain number of distribution in the card starting at 3. So for example, player 1 will get 3 cards, player 2 will have 4 cards, player 3 will have 5 cards, and player 4 will have 6 cards. So basically, starting with the first player of 3 cards, each other consecutive player will gain +1. So what we'll do is we'll shuffle the cards, and then you'll lay out the tokens and the dice in the center of your table, so it's within reach of everyone. Sort of like this, okay? And in terms of your play area, all you're really concerned about is the token and the dice, the cards that'll be in your hand, and items that you will designate as a stash. You'll have a draw pile for the cards and a discard pile next to it. So as a first player, I'll draw 1, 2, 3. And let's just say I had a second player over here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so my second player is on this side. So in terms of the push of your luck, basically starting with player 1 and going around the table, each player will, during their turn, will take the dice and they're going to roll it. And for whatever symbol that you roll, you will take the corresponding token into your play area. So for example, I roll the recycling symbol, and I'll put that into my play area. I'm going to roll again. At this stage, you can choose to either stop or continue rolling. This is the push your luck system or the aspect. If I stop and I say I'm done rolling, I'll put the dice back. And then at this point, the next part of my turn is to resolve these tokens. And I'll go through what the meaning of the token is. But just to show you the push your luck, I'm going to roll again. Okay, I get the raccoon symbol. So I'm going to take the raccoon symbol here, the token. And again, I have the choice, continue or stop. Very, very blackjack-like. Okay, I get the double tree. So as you can see, I'm starting to take more and more tokens from the center And my chances of rolling these ones become slimmer and slimmer. So let's just say I stop. So then I can resolve each of the 3 tokens that I have. Now, let's just say I continue. And I rolled the recycling. So once you roll a symbol with which the token you have already collected, you basically busted. And your turn is over. And your only consolation prize is to draw 1 card from the top of the draw pile of the trash bin that's right here. Now, if I was lucky enough to roll the raccoon stealing the bag, I would continue to do that. And let's just say if I rolled the trash can and the tree, I would collect that. And if I rolled the double trash can, and if I'm successful, if I pushed my luck to the point where I'm able to collect all 6 tokens, I get a free turn. Right after my turn, I get another consecutive turn in which I'm allowed to collect or roll and collect at most 3 tokens. So in total, I would have 9 tokens to resolve if I'm that lucky. But if you're not lucky and you roll the same symbol, then you bust and you lose your turn and you draw a card. So what did the symbols mean? Well, very simple. Right here, using the reference card, the double trash can allows you to draw up to 2 cards out of the trash can or trash bin. The 2 trees allow you to stash 2 cards. So from your hand, you can choose if you want to stash. You don't have to. You can choose to stash up to 2. And you do not, even if you have a token, you don't have to resolve it. It's there for you to resolve if you want to, but you're not forced to resolve it. Now, the other option you have is you don't have to resolve the token yet, but you can also play a card for its effect, which is resolve a token twice. So if I wanted to stash a couple cards, and I want to do this one, I could play this card first to resolve this token twice, which allows me to stash 4 cards. If you have the trash can and tree, it allows you to draw 1 card from the draw pile or stash 1 card from your hand. The little raccoon hand is steal 1 random card from another player's hand. I'm just going to skip down to the raccoon face, the mask. You can draw 1 card, and then you'd have to show it face up. Okay, so everyone sees that I've got nanners. If they so happen to have the nanners in their hand, they are able to stash that into their stash pile. And for every card that the other players stash, me as the active player can draw 1 card for every stashed card that the other players did. So it's kind of a trade-off. In terms of they get to see what you have, but at the same time, if they choose to stash it, first of all, you know what they're stashing, and second, you get to draw some more out of this pile, with the higher potential to get more nanners if you want to stash it. And then the last symbol here is the recycling symbol, which is I can exchange it for a remaining token. So for example, let's just say I had this. Okay, so I've got this, and I resolve these 3, and then I've got this recycling token left. I can then exchange it. I can exchange it for this one. And then that allows me to resolve this. Depending on your timing, if I resolve it, as you resolve each token, you put it back into the token lineup. So if I wanted to, if I had these ones, I could say I want to resolve, I want to stash 2. And then, I want to stash some more, so I can use the recycling and exchange it for the one that I just used, and then play it again. So that gives you a little bit of choice and maybe a little bit of strategy, if you want to call it that, to be able to do that. But let's say I got all of them. If I got all of them, first of all, I get an extra turn, and second of all, there's nothing that I can exchange. There's nothing for me to exchange other than play one and then exchange it for it again. So there's a couple of good options there in terms of how you use the sort of the wild card. But that's basically it. Once this draw pile is empty, the next player who tries to draw a card from the draw pile and there is nothing left, that's when the game immediately ends. Anything in your hand counts for nothing. Anything that you've stashed away on the side of your stash pile, you would then take it up. Let's just say this is my stash, or there's a pretty big stash here. Okay, let's just say this is a stash, and you would then sort based on the card types that you have. I got nanners, I got shiny, I got pie, pie. So you'll see this is my distribution in my collection. And then you would then compare with the other players to see who's got the most doggos in their stash, who's got the most blamos in their stash, who's got the, sorry, not the doggos. Doggos doesn't count, sorry, that's my fault. So blamos count as points. How many blamos you got? How many pies you got? How many shinies you got? How much fish? And how many nanners? Now, blamos are not a set collected. They just add extra points. So we'll just keep this off to the side. But you would compare. So let's say I had the most pies in my stash compared to everyone else. I would earn 6 points. But if someone else had more pies and I had the second most, I would earn 2 points based on the value that's listed here. Same thing for shiny. If I have the most, then I would get 3 points. But if I didn't, I get 0. And anyone else after that, third place, fourth place. Here I have 1 fish. Chances are it's not the most, so I may not get any points. And if it, let's just say I had the third most, I would get 1 point. After I've totaled this, I would add any Blamo cards, 1 point per Blamo card, to my total score. Add it all up, the person with the most points wins. So if I quickly just take the card deck here and give it a shuffle, I can just do a quick playthrough. And let's just say I'm going to give it a shuffle. I get 3 cards. My other player next to me has 4 cards. And let's say I go first. So I've got these in my hand, the Yum Yum, the Doggo, and the Blamo. So I'm going to roll. I'm going to start my turn and roll. So I'm going to collect this one. I'm going to roll again. So I busted. So I bust. I draw a card as my consolation prize. Player number 2. He goes, he's got 2 nanners, a Yum Yum, and a pie. He's going to start. Or she's going to start. Well, all right, let's not do that. Okay, 2 trash cans. I'm going to take a chance. Going to go again. I get the raccoon hand, and I'm going to stop. So I stop. Second player says, okay, I'm going to start resolving my tokens. The first thing I want to do is I want to draw 2. By resolving the 2 trash cans, I draw 2 cards. And then I'm going to use the raccoon to steal a random card from my opponent. So we'll take this one. Okay. And then I'm going to use my wildcard recycling to trade it for stashing. So I have that one. And before I resolve the stashing one, I'm going to play this card, which is resolve a token twice. So I play this card. This goes into discard. So you have to balance between, because obviously pies are worth points. So you have to balance what you're aiming for to stash and what cards you're willing to play, because once they go in the discard, they're no longer accessible for you to stash. So there is a little bit of hand management, both what's in your hand and what you think what's in your stash. And in your stash, it's face down, so you're able to look at your stash pile at any time. There are certain cards that require the if you stash a card to be face up, but for the most part, no one else can see what's in your stash pile. So I'm going to resolve this token twice, in which case I can stash 4 cards. So I'm going to stash my nanners, maybe my Yum Yum, my 2 Yum Yums that I have. So I put this over here. This is my stash pile over here. And so that ends my turn. I have no more tokens to, or this player has no more tokens to resolve. It cycles to the next player, and it's back to me. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start rolling my dice, pushing my luck. And I busted again, but let's pretend I didn't. And I get the 2 trees, and I get the recycling. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. Once I declare the stop, then I can now go ahead and resolve the tokens. So the first thing I'm going to do, just for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to exchange the wild card for the raccoon face, and I'm going to start resolving my token. So I'm going to draw 2 cards from here. And then I'm taking a look at my cards, and I say, okay, so I'm going to stash 2 cards. I want to stash my fish, and I'm going to stash a nanners. I'm going to use this one to draw a card. And then I'm going to use the raccoon face to draw a card I'm going to show everyone. And then at this point, everyone can take a look at their hand. If they want to stash an pie into their stash, they can. If not, that's fine too. And for every card that gets stashed for the other players, I draw a card, but nobody's going to do it, so I put this into my hand. That ends my turn. So we're going to do one more round. Player number 2 is going to go. They roll the trash can. Let's see which cards I have. Okay, perfect. I'm going to do this. Okay, so I rolled trash can. So I have a card here, Blammo, that I can play right away. Re-roll your last die. So it says 1 point per Blammo stash. That's just for reference. So I played this card to re-roll the last die. And I get this. What's my other card? Okay, and then I'm going to go this. And then I'm going to go this. Okay, so I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to start resolving my tokens. So I'm going to draw 2 cards. 1, 2. I'm going to steal a random one from my opponent. So I'll steal this one. And then I'm going to use this one to trade to this one. And then I resolve it to draw 2 more. And then I am going to take a look at my stash over here. I've been going for Nanners and Yum Yum. Okay, that's fine. I do have a Yum Yum. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stash. It says I can stash 2 cards, but I'm only going to stash 1, which is the Yum Yum. And then that ends my turn. So we're going to roll again for this player, for player number 1. Well, so I rolled the raccoon mask again. I'm going to play Blammo so I can re-roll this. And I get it again. And I'm playing my other Blammo to re-roll. And I get the recycling, which is great. And then I'm going to try one more time. And I get the steal. And I'm going to push my luck. And I get the other token. I'm going to stop right there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to exchange this recycling wild card for the double draw. And I'm going to resolve that to draw 2 cards. I'm going to take this one. This is the steal. I'm going to steal from my opponent, but my opponent has Doggo, and my opponent decides to play it. Block a steal attempt, then draw 2 cards. So I play this card, goes in this card, and then I draw 2 cards. So player number 1 was unable to steal. And then I'm going to resolve the mask, which means I show it. Anybody has Nanners in their hand. If they wanted to, they can now stash it. So player number 2 has a Nanner. He's going to stash it. I believe you stash it face up because obviously this is what it is. 1 card was stashed, so now I draw a 2nd card, and now I have 2 Nanners in my hands. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stash. What am I collecting here? I'm going to stash the Nanners, okay? And that ends my turn. So let's just say, fast forward, this deck is completely empty. And we've done what we can to stash. Now, each player would take a look at what they have. So player number 1 has 2 Nanners and a Fish. Anything in your hand doesn't count, only things that are in your stash pile. And for this player, Nanner, Nanner, Yum Yum, Yum Yum, Yum Yum. So we'd take a look here, and we would compare. In my stash pile, I have 2 Nanners. In my player number 2, they've got 3, so they have the most, which means that they get 7 points. I have 1 card of Fish in my stash. Player number 2 has nothing, so I have the highest number, which gives me 5 points. Do we have any Yum Yums? Player number 1 has no Yum Yums, but player 2 has the most Yum Yums, so he gets 4 points. So in total, player number 2 has 11 points. If he had any Blammos, he or she had any Blammos stashed, she would get 1 point per Blammo card stashed. But once you've resolved all that, you would total it up, 11 points here, 5 points here. Player number 2 is the winner. So there you go. That is basically all there is to Trash Pandas. It's quick. It's very simple. It's set collection, sort of hidden set collection because you're not actually, it's not open face. It's hidden. It has elements of set collection. It has elements of take that because certain cards, you block it, an attempt, and there's one card that I think it's Kite. Where's Kite? I don't think she's on this one. Where you're able to block the steal attempt right here. If a player tries to steal from you, you steal from them instead. And there's only 2 of these in the whole 54 set. So if you play this one, let's say player number 1 is trying to steal from me. No, I'm going to steal from you. And then let's say player number 1 has a kite and plays that one and steals back. So you got the take that element that's in this game. You have the push your luck element, which is rolling dice, and you may bust, but you do have a couple opportunities for nanner, for using blamos, or even the nanner card, which is ignore your last roll and choose a stop. You have a little bit of hand management, the cards you want to keep, the cards you're trying to collect, versus what do you want to play. So you are being mindful of what kind of cards you're in terms of set collection, and hopefully getting the right combination of drawing cards, being mindful what's left in the stack, and then stashing the things in a timely manner so that you can earn the most points. For 4 players, this is a fun, I think a relatively fun game for what it is. The rules are very simple. I've played this with my daughter, and she's fine with it. It's symbol matching and knowing what actions to take for those symbols, for those token symbols, and the token symbols. Those explanations are fairly straightforward. I think the only one that's a bit more complicated is maybe the raccoon mask, because there's a bit more. It's a bit more is involved in that sense. Now, if you strike gold, where you get all 6 tokens and you get that extra turn, then you get the potential to earn 3 more tokens on your free turn. Then you could, it amps up that sort of excitement. Ooh, I can stash more, I can draw more, or whatnot. So as a whole, it's a fun filler game, and it has all the different elements from various other types of games that I think makes it very interesting. So there you go, the Trash Pandas for you, and I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, stay bored.